Might as well call him Goliath. He's coming at 263, 2 pounds under the heavyweight limit at 6'4" and an 83-inch reach. His former sparring partner from France, Ciryl Gane, is coming in at a pristine 10-0. Now, he hasn't been knocking everybody out, but boy, there's not a more fluid athlete that's fought at heavyweight, minus John Jones, who hasn't fought, and the heavyweight division. The interim champ is coming in at 247, 6'4", with the 83-inch reach. These guys are the fucking prototypes for absolute beasts. These guys go play in the NFL, NBA, NHL. I don't give a fuck. They can go play soccer. That's how good of athletes they are. Of course, Francis. He's looking for that one-punch knockout. But we saw patient Francis out there last time versus Stipe Miocic. And that was one of the scariest knockouts I think I've ever seen. And the other scariest knockouts I've ever seen also come from him. He has the touch of death. He doesn't even have to connect fully to put people's lights out. Ciryl Gane, on the other hand, the interim champ, fluid. He's in and out kickboxing. He's just keeping his distance, getting in, getting out, not really putting people's lights out. Beat a fucking very good Derek Lewis the last time out. Heavy hitter like Francis, although they're different. But Zach, I've been going back and forth all week. I don't know who the fuck to pick here. This is going to be a banger.
I made a weird face because usually we like to have a little fun on the calf kick experience. Slam some beers, make some jokes, maybe shit on a guy or two. But I'm like super serious about this one. I'm like very intrigued, first of all, to hear Gage's opinion. Very intrigued to hear from the public. So if you agree, disagree, feel something, think something, drop us a comment. Because I think this is as close to, just a toss-up as a fight as we've had in a long time, which I find strange, and I'll make my argument, because I favor Francis Ngannou pretty heavily here. I think the thing I like most about Francis is that, for the past 3 years, it seems like, everybody talks about the one-punch knockout power, but Francis has developed so much, and he looks different every time he comes out. He looks like a different fighter every time he steps on the mat, which is hard to track, in terms of evolution, because we only get to see him once a year, maybe twice a year if we're fucking lucky. He's like Santa Claus. So it's like, to think about Francis the last time we saw him, you have to think back to last March when he fought Stipe, which I do bring people's attention to the fact that Stipe Miocic is a pretty highly touted MMA wrestler in the heavy division.
He's the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
The dude can fucking grapple too, though, and Francis was stuffing his takedowns. I think the only reason Francis didn't launch one of his own was because Stipe. But my whole point here is that Ciryl Gane circles. I hear a lot of people online, a lot of contrary opinions in favor of Gane that say, "Oh, this is gonna look like the Jairzinho fight. Francis is just gonna stand there. Gane's gonna touch, or like Derek Lewis, get him backed up against the cage. Francis is gonna be frazzled." You know how you stop the freaking circling around, the dancing around, the kickboxing? Take the page out of Calvin Cater's book from last week. Pressure, get in the dude's face. Francis will be in his face the whole fucking fight, man. And I think that, Ciryl Gane's in good shape, good chin. He can take a Francis punch or two. There's nobody on this fucking planet that can take 5 or 6 or 7 or 10. Nobody's going 5 rounds with that guy.
Did you just say a punch or two?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck you're smoking over there, Zach, but that must be some good shit, because I haven't seen one person yet that can take a punch from Francis. That's fucking ballsy.
Look, I'm just saying that a lot of people are like, Ciryl Gane, what would happen? That's the hypothetical I get. If Francis hits him one time and he doesn't go lights out. Nothing in my book. I don't think it matters. Because I think Francis, if he can connect once, can connect 10 times.
Okay, maybe so. I I mean, to get a more analytical breakdown, the way that because we haven't seen anything like this before. Francis is a unicorn in his own right, just because he has power and he's athletic, right? I mean, he's not a Derek Lewis has power kind of guy, right? He's different. He's completely different. Now, Ciryl Gane is a unicorn all in his own fucking universe. This guy, his movements, his ability, his technicalities, his skills in all assets of MMA is amazing. But I have to go back and think about a boxing match because at the end of the day, this is not going to the ground. I don't think either guy wants it to go to the ground.
Look, I think Francis will shoot. I don't know if it'll get there, but I think at some point in the fight, Francis will try.
Francis would try, but although Ciryl Gane's submissions are actually underrated, he's very good on the ground. But where I was going was as Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. We have to think about is Deontay Wilder in those fights, he had the one punch eraser. All he had to do was hit Tyson Fury once. And then it was over. That was what everybody was saying, right? But that didn't happen, even though, boxing is a completely different sport. Tyson Fury won the fight with skill, with movement. And, when you're doing a martial art like this, mixed martial arts, movement is key. It's about not getting hit and hitting the other person. Everyone wants to see the punch, the knockout, whatever, but it's all about scoring points at the end of the day. And I think Ciryl Gane can do that. I hate to go with it because I'm a big Francis fan. I love to watch Francis, but Ciryl just has that style that can win fights on the scorecards.
No, I 100% agree. I think Ciryl Gane will come in with a good game plan. MMA Factory, Joe Lopez, I think he comes from a good camp. That's the same camp that Francis came from. I think he's going to come in, obviously, with, what he needs to do to beat Francis. These dudes freaking sparred together for several years. But I think that part of what people forget when they note that for Ciryl Gane is that Francis was there too. So everything that Ciryl Gane knows about Francis Ngannou knows the same amount about Ciryl Gane. I think it's an interesting paradox to see how they prepare for one another. But I liked your analogy. I like the Deontay Wilder-Tyson Fury comparison because, like you said, boxing and MMA are different sports. In the last Wilder v. Fury fight, Wilder dropped Tyson Fury, I think, twice, at least once. If Francis Ngannou drops Ciryl Gane and doesn't knock him out cold, those hammer fists are coming and sending him straight to hell, my friend. That's over.
Yeah.
You can't hammer fist in boxing.
Yeah. I think my last little tidbit is how patient is Francis going to be? I think he's going to sit there and he's just going to get circled for a couple rounds. And then we'll see what actually a fight's going to look like. If he can sit there and trade with him and be technical and just in and out. But I think that Francis is going to get frustrated. That's just my thoughts. But let's see what the odds makers say.
Let's look at it. Let's do it.
All right. The main event comes down to this, Zach. Ciryl Gane minus 150 favorite for the challenger. The incumbent Francis Ngannou coming at plus 132. This is not something you see all the time. It's very rare that the champion is the underdog. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Look, never seen it before. As far as I'm concerned, I've never seen it before. And we might see it again when Jan fights Sterling, but where the interim champion is the favorite and the sitting champion is the underdog.
I guarantee the odds for goes to decision are going to be pretty tasty. Yeah, Gane wins by decision plus 300. It's gone down, actually. Huh.
Joe Lopez, I called the guy.
Hey, what did we say earlier about the first fight?
Let me check.
Plus 2,800 for Ngannou win by submission versus plus like 200 for Vieira.
No, look, it was Ngannou wins by submission in the first round is plus 10,000. And it was plus 300 for Vieira.
Oh my God. That's crazy, dude.
I mean, just to put in perspective how good my man is at jiu-jitsu. Let's see. I'm looking it up right now.
I don't know. But this fight, I mean, Gane could win by TKO KO, but it's just not going to be out clean like Ngannou would be. Plus 170 is actually not bad, especially for an underdog. You couple those two together, you might make some bread. But I just don't know.
My whole plan right now, from a betting perspective, is a good little tease with Francis Ngannou and Figueiredo, and hoping that both of them end up winning from a dog spot.
Well, you're going with the underdogs. I'm going with the favorites. I know we're flipping roles here in 2022. I'm usually the underdog guy, but I just can't see. I mean, I can see Ciryl Gane getting knocked out, but he's just so goddamn smooth. He fucking moves around the octagon like fucking 155er. It's fantastic to watch.
I mean, there's a great video of him rolling on the pads, and he looks like a welterweight. It's incredible. But I think the bottom line here is that both of these guys are getting better on a consistent basis. We don't have any idea how much untapped potential either one of these guys has. Gane is probably, more untapped because he's younger. He got into the sport at a younger age. I have no doubt that he will be the heavyweight champion of the world someday, but that day will not be Saturday, January 22nd, 2022. Francis Ngannou, the Predator, is going to unify. And at that point, Dana White's going to be in a predicament because he doesn't want to fight here anymore. And you can't have your heavyweight champion vacate the belt to go box.